All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99, all box and everything. Make sure y'all subscribe. All right, y'all, let's talk a little bit about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. Just been a little busy, so I haven't had a chance to do too many breakdown videos on, just some people's thoughts. And, of course, watching more and more Spence and Crawford fights as we lead up to it. I just kind of wanted to give my assessment on certain things that are being said about the two particular fighters. But I know one thing that continues to go on and on, about the discussion before this fight coming up is, that Terence Crawford tends to be the more talented fighter and the more skillful fighter than Errol Spence. Even, Antonio Tarver, he went as far as to say that, he hasn't really seen Errol Spence do anything much, but he's just kind of like the same pressure boxer. He really doesn't make adjustments in a fight like Terence Crawford, right? Well, I just think it comes down to the type of fighter it is, I think it all comes down to how they approach the fight. And, it's kind of like on them to decide on whether they want to do certain things or not. A guy like, I think Errol Spence, he's more of a physical break him down type of fighter, but that doesn't mean that he's lacking skills and he's lacking an IQ. I think he just depends on certain things in certain situations now, as he kind of goes on in fights, and maybe it's just something that he enjoys to do. I don't think that, puts him in the category of being like this one-dimensional fighter, because if it did, I don't think that he would be a 3-belt champion now, right? He might have won one belt at some point, and then at some point, somebody else along the ways probably would have beaten him by now or exposed him if he was like this one-dimensional fighter, right? But I definitely think there's more to Errol when it comes down to it. He is the type of fighter that he can box off the back foot, he can counter, and, he can fight off of a jab, and, he can fight at mid-range. It's just that whenever his style, when he's able to impose his will on fighters, why make an adjustment? Why jump to something else whenever, like he says, he likes to break fighters down physically, mentally, and break their will? Why stop? Once you can get a fighter's will out of there, along with their physical, when you can get their fighting spirit out of there, then you pretty much won the fight, right? So I don't think it's the fact that he can't do these other things. I think that once he gets into a groove and he just starts doing these things, he said, okay, why should I switch? Why should I switch to orthodox when I am a southpaw? Why should I fight off the back foot when this guy is succumbing to my pressure? You know what I mean? Why should I do that when I'm able to do it? Or why start boxing off the back foot and giving this guy more room, or, trying to counter when I know that when he meets me in the middle, he's dead meat. I can break him down. Just like in the Yordenis Ugas fight. Okay, I know there were some mistakes made in that fight, but with Errol throwing a high volume and, going to the body and, punching around the guard, and, just constantly, weathering a lot of what Ugas offered, and that's working for you. Why go on the back foot like Sean Porter did when he fought Ugas? Whenever Ugas fought Sean Porter, Sean chose the box, but maybe if Sean met him in the middle and actually dogged it out with him a little more, he probably could have broke Ugas down earlier. But, there was times Sean was on the back foot boxing a lot, and it gave Ugas a lot of room and a lot more confidence where he could outbox him, and land hard shots on Porter because he was letting him extend his range. I know in this fight, in the Spence-Ugas fight, Ugas had his moments early in the fight, but that never stopped Errol from punching. You know what I mean? That never stopped Errol from punching. Errol was still punching, and he was still punching with the same intensity. So Errol knows what he's going to do in a fight, and he knows if it's working, he's not going to stop. And he can see it in the facial expression of a guy like Ugas. He's physically and mentally, you see the guy's eyes swelling up and really starting to bulge, and you can see it in his eyes that he can't take much more of this. So he's not going to give him any type of room anymore. So that's why I think Errol likes to fight these physical fights at times instead of trying to be so quick and fancy. Now, for Terence Crawford, again, he's a different type of fighter, but he still is a killer as well. He's a competitive type of fighter that likes to, I think, do these other things because he doesn't have the same type of build as Errol and the same type of frame or just the same type of approach mentally. I think Terence Crawford, he is a little bit smaller framed, but he has a long reach for the division, and he is strong. and he is strong. He brings his strength in different ways. Like he'll kind of sneak up on you with the strength whenever he clinches you or kind of tosses you to the side. That's kind of how he does his thing. He'll do things like that, but then he'll surprise you with his boxing. So in his own way, he likes to break guys down, by using these different tools, because he's kind of like, a professor in there. He downloads the information for the first couple rounds, then he starts using those weapons against you, or he finds the perfect weapon that just totally neutralizes you. You know what I mean? And again, if you can look at the resumes, sometimes for a guy like Crawford, early on in his career, the smaller guys he was fighting, he's a little bit more skilled than those guys and a lot more talented. So he has more breathing room to take chances and do different things like that, right? So he can switch hit, he can pick you apart, he can box you from the outside, fight a little bit on the inside, tie you up, kind of fight his own fight after he's kind of downloaded the information, after the first couple rounds. But, some of those guys don't really pose the same threat that Errol fought. So I think sometimes Errol, instead of taking too many chances and adjusting, to different things or trying to find adjustments, he already knows that he's physically stronger. He can throw more punches than a guy, and he can outwork you. He knows that he can break you down with the type of punches he's throwing and where he's throwing them, right? So, again, Crawford, early in his career, he's stopping a lot of people. He's doing different things. Even at welterweight, he's doing these things. He stopped everybody at welterweight. But, again, you got to look at some of these guys that are giving him that breathing room to try these things as well, like Amir Khan, the Kell Brook he fought. Sean Porter wasn't really able to do too many things against Sean Porter. Of course, he did switch southpaw, but even then, Sean Porter was still fighting a tough fight to the end. But finally, he was able to get into him mentally and just start cracking him with these shots that he really couldn't see coming anymore until he was able to, finish him. His father had to stop the fight. But yeah, when it comes down to it, I think that it's really hard for us to say one guy is more talented than the other. That's why we want to see this fight, right? That's why this is a 50-50 fight, because this fight is going to make us say, this fight's going to answer questions. This fight's going to answer questions. It's going to answer those questions that we ask. Okay, can Crawford do the same things that he was doing, that people are saying he's doing, in a fight with a big, strong, demanding welterweight like Errol Spence? Can he do those same things that he was doing in these past fights against Errol? We don't know. Can Errol do what he's known for? Box a guy, break him down physically? Can he impose that same type of will and strength and punch output on a guy like Terence? We don't know for sure, right? We don't know. So we'll see, man. That's the whole purpose of this fight. But yeah, like I said, final thoughts. We'll talk more about this fight as we go on, because I want to do another video on this. I want to talk about who's the more damaging puncher. Somebody had asked me. But I think that, yeah, Terence, we've seen a little bit more from him when it comes down to his technical skills, because he gets a little bit more breathing room in some fights by, opponents, by, some of the opponents he's fought. But again, that's just his approach too. I mean, you can see it in his eyes and his voice. He's that type of, confident fighter that likes to show you different things. And he works on so many different things in the gym and trains for this. So when he gets in there, he can throw this many things at you and, just break guys down in that fashion so they're ripe for the picking. And that's why he stopped all his opponents at welterweight, because he's able to do that. He does so many things. By the time, you get down to fighting like round 5 or round 6, you don't even want to go at, you don't even want to throw anything at him anymore. You know what I mean? Like, your best punches don't even count because you can't catch up to him anymore. You're broken physically, mentally, and technically you can't do anything. You can't get off. Errol, again, you see him do a lot of the similar things, which I don't. I still see, some of the good counters he does set up, like even in the pocket, like the punches he's throwing to the body. It's just more, it's more just on the offense. But, I think, again, Errol, he does that because these guys, they can't take it. And, that's his main thing, is to break a guy down to the point that he knows they can't come back, and they won't, they can't come back, and, they won't get back into that mode of trying to level up, is what I'm saying, at that point in a fight. So, yeah, I think that Both guys are talented in their own way. One's just going to show more flashiness than the other, but the other one, to me, like Errol, I think he works just as hard. His output and his success comes out. It's shown in a different way, but it comes out the same. He's undefeated, and he's a long-time champion too. So we're just going to see how this thing plays out next month, guys. But I'll be back with another video, and we'll definitely talk more about it. Like I said, the next one, who has the more damaging punches, Terence or Errol, we'll talk about it. All boxing everything. Make sure y'all subscribe. I'm out. Peace.